our city clerk, Valencia Morrow, city clerk Jennifer Ozinger, Ashley Schwartzky, who's representing HomeServe, which is our first item on the agenda, Councilman Anita Davis, Harry Johnson, Water Commissioner Rick Deek, and Wade Calhoun from the city of Canfield, I believe. Am I seeing everyone on here? Did I miss anyone? 9 participants. I think I got everyone. All right. We can start with the new business. Harry, if you want to give us an introduction on Ordinance 21-68, which was the BOC to approve and enter into an agreement with HomeServe to offer waterline warranty protection services to customers of Youngstown Water Department.
Sure. And just want to thank the committee and the council the opportunity to come before you and talk about this. In addition to moving the meeting from Monday to today, because I wanted to enjoy myself on a golf course in Maryland and be able to smoke cigars and drink beer and not worry about a meeting. So I appreciate that also. So this is actually something that I looked at several years ago, just never had the opportunity or approval to move forward with it. And I got the chance to move forward with the possibility of us offering this service to our customers, a line service program, warranty for sewer and water lines. So to make a long story short, what happened? We ended up retaining a professional that has some background in this particular area, and we put out an RFP. We end up with 2 companies, HomeServe, and the other one was American Water. We evaluated the 2 companies, looked at what they had to offer. There were a lot of similar characteristics between the 2 companies. The main thing that the main driving benefit that we liked about HomeServe is the fact that they're a public partner, a private partner, how you want to look at it, and that they deal directly with government, and they had significant experience dealing with municipalities similar to ours and bigger. Whereas the other company had their experience was primarily with private companies. So we decided to go with HomeServe. So after we determined that was the company we wanted to present to council, I went through the discussion with Ashley, which is she's here on the call today. Just the logistics. Okay, how does this process work? What is our responsibility, et cetera, et cetera. And it's pretty much a turnkey. What we offer, what we have to provide them is the addresses. From there, they do all the marketing, the collection of money, even just from the time that I was initially introduced to this process, this product has changed. It wasn't like that, I recall, 7-10 years ago. But essentially, they collect and they will use our logo. Anything that goes out will have the City of Youngstown and/or the watermark. What we decide will go out to the customers. They'll provide training to us when customers, if they call directly here, what we should say to any potential customers that may have an issue. And again, they do all the legwork. So upon us, if that's the direction council decides to go in and approving this measure, we provide them the addresses, they solicit the customers, they collect the money, and what they do for us is they provide us a report on how many people signed up. And I've had conversations with Ashley, and she said that it depends on how often I want it. We want it. I can get every month, I can get it every quarter, once a year. And the conversation I had with her, I said that at least if in fact this is approved, the first year, I would want it on a quarterly basis just to see what the activity is like. Beyond that, I may reduce it to maybe semi-annually reports. From that point on. But initially, I want to see a little bit more, a little bit more interaction with the company, just to make sure things are going smoothly, and so on and so forth. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much it. They offer water only, water and sewer, and then I forgot the other package. We decided to go with the water and sewer package, and the cost for that, for those, it's for the customer, it's $575 per month if they elect to engage in the service, and $775 per month for the sewer backing. And the benefit to the city is essentially $50 per account. So whoever signs up, 50 cents comes back to the city. Now, there's some speculation about the penetration. I'm hearing 30%. I'm somewhat skeptical. You never know. It may be better, maybe a little bit worse. I'm thinking it may not be as beneficial. But the money that we would generate, I proposed this to the mayor and the previous mayor also. We necessarily wouldn't need, let's say, $60,000, although it would help, but we wouldn't need it. I propose that we create an alliance with a partnership with the companies or the agencies that we deal with right now for water service, Catholic Charities, Protestant Family Services, where we can use these proceeds and funnel them there, and because essentially they come back, but it's a way that those monies can go out there and help folk in our community that are struggling, and then of course help them to pay their water bills, and again, the money comes back to us just in a different form. So essentially, again, that's pretty much it. Ashley's here if she wants to weigh in on the subject matter. If there's any questions, I'm ready to answer anything I can at this point.
Thank you, Harry. Just for the record, we had Attorney Jeff Libyan join us, committee member, Councilman Julius Oliver, and Ted from the Water Department is there as well. I think I got everybody. And Ashley, go ahead if you're.
Sure. Well, first of all, thanks to the committee for having me here this morning. As Harry said, I work for HomeServe and we administer the program. And our program is endorsed by the National League of Cities and the Ohio Municipal League. But as I mentioned, the company I work for is called HomeServe, and I'm not too far from you here. Our offices are just right in Pittsburgh. But just as Harry mentioned, our program really just helps to address the public policy issue of aging infrastructure. We know that cities like yours really are doing their best to upgrade or maintain their public infrastructure, but there's really only so much that you can do on the residents piece of the line. So that's really why with our program, the National League of Cities went out and did research. They wanted to make a program like ours readily and easily available to cities across the US. They went out and we were the company they chose to provide the program. So with our program, what I always is the best benefit is that it really just helps to educate your homeowners. Pretty much every city that I ever speak with, I normally hear that same thing. That if a resident does have an issue on their external water or sewer line, a lot of time their first call is to someone there at the city like Harry. And then you all are left, sending someone out only to determine that the issue is on the resident's piece of that line. And then you're left being that unfortunate bearer of bad news, explaining to the homeowner, at the worst time that these lines are not covered by the city or typically their homeowner's insurance. So that's kind of why I think of our program as a public awareness campaign, because as Harry mentioned, we do send a letter out to all of the residents, and the beginning of that really educates them of exactly what their service line responsibility is, but lets them know if they want to, they are able to enroll into our protection to protect those lines in case they do have an issue. So that way, even if they don't enroll, at least in the future, they are a little bit more aware of exactly what their service line responsibility is. Also with the program, we would only use local plumbers from your area to do all of our repairs. And we do that for a lot of reasons. Mainly we want to keep those plumbers employed within the local community, keeping as much dollars there in your community as possible. But also your plumbers would be familiar with your codes and will make sure to do the work up to our standards as well as yours, which includes we make sure that they get all of the proper permits to do the repairs. And what happens is if we did partner with the city, we would develop a contractor network specifically for Youngstown. And this committee and Harry and whoever could be as much or as little involved in that contractor selection process as they want to be, where some partners will provide us plumbers, you know, that they're familiar with, working with, might be well known there. And some want to stay out of it, but I just like to let everyone know with all of the plumbers before they do join our network, we make sure not only they are from your local area, but they make sure that they're licensed, they have the proper insurance, that they actually have the equipment to do the jobs. But we also conduct background checks and drug screenings because we want to make sure that it's someone that a resident always feels comfortable with coming to their home, but also inside of their home, as well as any work done by our contractors is guaranteed for 12 months from that date of service. As for our coverage, as Harry mentioned, we do offer two separate programs. We offer an external water line coverage and an external sewer line coverage. Those two are kind of set up almost identically, where we cover those lines wherever they become your resident's responsibility, all the way to where they enter their home. So that way, if a resident there were having an issue, whether it was a broken, a cracked, a leaking pipe, a tree root issue, a clog that needs cleared out, really anything that would impede the flow of their lines, as well as we do cover the thawing of frozen external water lines. Not that I want to think about winter anytime soon, but we would come out and thaw the water line or obviously repair or replace that line if damage is caused by the freezing. But what our coverage would include is the homeowner actually receives up to $8,500 towards each and every repair incident. So that is something that separates us from other companies out there, is that ours is always on a per incident basis. So we do not have an annual or a lifetime limit, and we never limit the incidents or claims that anyone can have. So again, that homeowner does receive up to that $8,500 towards each and every incident, and we do not have any type of service fee or deductible. You know, because sometimes that $100 service fee can deter someone from giving us a call and getting their issues taken care of. And we really come to find that when someone enrolls in either of these options, they are a little bit more proactive about getting their issues taken care of. Because, you know, everyone is always nervous to call a plumber a lot of times because they don't know who to call or how much it's going to cost them. But now they know the cost of determining their issue and getting it taken care of is not coming out of their own pocket. And I know Harry touched upon it briefly, but the city does receive the revenue for their participation, which is the 50 cents per month per product. And we do pay that too in the form of a royalty every January. And the big thing everyone really wants to know about this program is how we get the word out. And we only ever market by direct mail. And as Harry did say, we handle all the aspects of this. And really the city's involvement in the program is before we ever send anything out, we actually send that letter to you for your review and approval. So we work with you to customize that specifically for the city, and we do not mail unless we do have your approval prior. Once we get the approval, we let the city know that the dates that we would mail those out. And if we don't get the approval, we don't mail. So the city always is complete control on if and when those letters were to go out. Also with that initial launch and future launch campaigns, we really work with the city to be as much or as little involved as you want us to be. You know, some partners really like to have a PR campaign, social media, things like that. We have lots of tools that we can really just give the homeowners a heads up. These letters are coming in the mail, and most importantly, to call us with questions. Same thing moving forward. We have a lot of reporting. We can give it to Harry as often as you want. I get a report each week, so I can do it as quickly as that, or whatever basis that you all would like. But really the city's involvement in the program is before we ever send anything out, again, for your review and approval. That letter does include the city's logo or letterhead, so your residents know that this is the program that you all are participating in. But on that letter, it's only our phone number. They call us with questions or to enroll. Same thing with our website. They go there for lots of information or enroll right on our website or return that letter right to us. So the city's really involvement is just in helping to introduce the program. But once someone enrolls, all of that correspondence is between us and them. So we do the marketing, the billing, the claims, and the customer service. And there's always no cost to the city to participate. I always just think you're making a program available that otherwise would not be. And we do have over 1,000 municipal partners across the US and 28 in Ohio. And I know I've rambled on and kind of repeated a little bit of what Harry said, but if you have any questions for me, I'm more than happy to answer those for you.
Thank you, Ashley. And who just joined us, the 743 number?
That's Dan Blakely. He was having some problems. Matter of fact, this is him. What's up, Dan?
Okay, we do have him in. I believe we have Councilman Samantha Turner has a question. Go ahead, Samantha.
Thank you. Through the chair, this question is for either Harry or Ashley. Well, actually, I'll start with my questions for Ashley. You're currently in, I understand, Struthers. And are you working with Dominion and First Energy as well?
We do, yes.
Okay. And how long have you had the relationship with the city of Struthers?
I could look that up real quick for you.
Okay, well, so while you look that up, my next question, so was it $575 for water and $775 for sewage?
Correct. Per month.
Per month, each of them. So that would add additional $13.50. Now that would come from their bill, or you guys bill directly?
Correct. We bill directly. They can choose to enroll in either of them, absolutely none. And we would send them the bill directly. And it is month to month. So homeowners sometimes like to pay annually, but it is always month to month. So if they sign up for a year and want to cancel, they just let us know.
Okay, thank you. And then my next question, so this program is from their home to where it connects to the street. And what if there is a tree that's damaging their water bill? I mean, their water line. And the tree needs to be taken down and the line needs to be repaired. Is that something that 1,800 would go towards, or would just be the pipe?
So we do not remove that full tree, but we would remove damage causing by the tree and remove the roots. We don't remove the entire tree though, but we would cut out, if the roots were growing into it, we would cut out the roots and replace the line for them. And that's the $8,500.
Let me see here. No, that was it. That's all my questions. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I just look, it looks like Struthers is a partner of ours through Aqua America. So we're partnered with Aqua, the large water.
Thank you. Just to be clear on that, so it's the water line, and then what other lines is that additional, those price breakdowns?
Sure. So we offer 3 options. I know when we offer external water line, external sewer line, and in-home plumbing. With the city though, Harry was interested in the 2 external products. So external sewer line coverage from the main to the home, and water line coverage to the shut off to the home or the residence.
Gotcha. Thank you.
So
was there, this could have been provided before we originally had this legislation back on, it was March 17th. Is there a cut sheet or information like on what you would be sending out, just so we know what that looks like?
Sure, like our sample letter template, like that. Yeah, sure. I can send that over. It's a template, and we would customize that specifically for your residents.
Right. Okay. Any other questions from committee members? Any other questions from council members that are joining us? Councilman Davis, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, through the chair. So is there, if they sign up for a year, out of curiosity, in advance, is there a discount or is it a set price?
So there is typically not a discount for an annual membership, but again, they can cancel after 2 months and receive the refund if they don't use it. But there is normally a discount of 10% if they sign up for both the external product, both the external water line coverage and sewer line coverage together.
And I'm sorry, you said it was a 10% discount
10%.
if they sign up for both?
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilwoman Turner, do you have a question?
Yes, I did. If there's a discount given, does that take down the amount that comes back to the city
It does not. It's still 50 cents per product per month
per product per month? So if they signed up for both, it would be $1 a month coming back to the city
for that household. Yep.
for the household. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Anything else regarding this piece of legislation, ordinance 21-68 for home serve? Okay.
Through the chair? I'm
Yes,
sorry, Mike.
Anita, go ahead.
Yes. Out of curiosity, give me a couple of cities that you are currently dealing with.
Sure. So in Ohio, we're partnered with Dayton, Akron, Cleveland, Toronto, Conneaut, Oberlin, Bucyrus, Newark.
Newark. Okay.
But
Thank you.
I can give you the list of all of those too. I can send them to Harry.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I have it.
All right.
Through
Okay.
the chair, Mike.
Yes, go ahead, Julius.
Thank you. Just a quick question is, what's your satisfaction rating with those customers in those different cities, if you have that information?
So our current
Go ahead,
custom-
Ashley.
Oh, thank you. Our current customer satisfaction rate, we measure on a star rating. It's 4.8 out of 5. So every customer gets a survey after their job, and rate us based on stars, and it's 4.8 out of 5.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. This would be the only thing. I guess at this point, we don't have to wait till the end of the meeting. We can take a motion to take this out of committee and forward to citizens for consideration and passage if it pleases the committee. Councilman Turner, did you want to make that motion?
Yes, I move that we place ordinance number 2168 in front of the body of council for consideration.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved, properly forwarded, seconded to take item 2168 before council for consideration and passage. Thank you. We can move to the next item under section 2, which is create a new position within the water department to meet EPA guidelines. At this point, I don't know that Ashley needs to stay with us if she wants to for her viewing pleasure, or she can join us on our YouTube channel, or you can also look at past meetings for your viewing entertainment on the City of Youngstown's YouTube channel. So that's up to you.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Harry, I guess the new position within the water department to meet EPA guidelines, I'm guessing these are new EPA guidelines. This is more of a compliance type position to make sure we stay in check, or is it a changing need that we need to expand the position?
So right now, we are, through the chair, right now, we do not have a compliance person. And this is something that we've been talking to administrations dating back at least 5 years about the need for a compliance person. During that time, the EPA regulations that were responsible for continue to mount. And I'll give an overview, and then I'll turn it over to Dan. That's why I wanted him on the meeting to give a little bit more in-depth information regarding the position, why it's needed. But to give a little historical context, the administration had talked about creating a compliance department or a person for the city. We had discussions maybe a couple of years ago about that. And at the time, I mentioned to him that our requirements are pretty significant, that we need essentially a full-time person. But you know, then COVID hit and things kind of stopped at that particular point in time. And now we're at a critical point now. What they're requiring from us regarding lead testing and some water quality testing, we have to adhere to like right now. And to get it more into the magnitude of what's required, I'll defer to Dan, turn over to Dan and let him explain to you exactly what we have to deal with and why the creation of this position is necessary. And keep in mind, we have, I sent a preliminary draft. It continues to evolve to the committee members maybe 20 minutes before this meeting. So you can look at that. We haven't decided on a wage yet. We're close, somewhere between 55 and 60. In terms of the impact on our budget, little to none, given the fact over the past 3 years, we've had about 6 retirements and we've not replaced one person. So we're talking over $400,000 that we've saved over the past couple of years. Now we're at the point we've filled those positions, but we've not brought anybody in new. So I wanted to put that out there because I know sometimes that issue comes up about the impact on the budget and that kind of stuff. So that's why I threw it out there. But at this point, Mr. Chairman, if I could turn it over to Dan to let him give you a little bit more in-depth information. I see you got a question, Samantha.
Yes, I could share that job description if we want to see it. I didn't know if anyone wants to take a look at it.
I did.
We just got that before the meeting.
Yeah, I apologize. I didn't think about that.
No, trying to get that open so we can review that. My computer was running a little slow. While I'm waiting for that to open to review, did Councilwoman Turner have a question?
Actually, it was, you referenced that description and I don't have it. So I was just asking, I wanted to, if you can forward it over.
Okay. So give me a second to see about sharing my screen, if I can share screen. And I'm going to share this Word document and we should be able to share that. And can everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay. So we have the nature of the work under general supervision, implement, maintain the lead compliance program that adheres to all Ohio EPA and United States EPA regulations for drinking water. Work requires selection of course of action and resolution of complex and unique problems within the framework of broad engineering and administrative guidelines. There's some examples of work. Assist the engineering staff as needed. Implement, maintain lead compliance programs as required. Maintain lead and copper testing program as required. Point of contact with customers explaining lead regulations and requirements. Maintain and update records for all lead and copper test results. Update annual consumer confidence report. Update annual emergency response plan. Regularly update geographic information system, the GIS database records. Oversee federal and state grant application process.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Yeah. If I could, the middle section, because I don't know if Dan can, he was having some issues. I don't know if he can get off mute.
I am.
Oh, you are? Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't want to steal your thunder. I apologize.
I guess. Yeah, does Dan want to elaborate on that? Is that what you're asking, Harry? Or
well, I was going to go into some of the intricate details about, the maintain lead and copper, being a point of contact, the increased requirements that we have on an annual basis, the testing requirements. That was the part of it I was going to let Dan, weigh in there, if you would, Dan.
Through the chair.
Sure, yeah, Dan, yes, go ahead to give us those things. I know these are things we currently do, but I'm sure as we add to those and as staffing has changed, this is probably illustrating the importance of why it would be important to have someone specifically. So go ahead, Dan.
Okay, through the chair. Yes, we have recently we've had some increased requirements. The Mahoning Valley Sanitary District, which is the provider of the water for Youngstown, did some changes in their treatment process. That triggered an event which caused us to have to do much more testing for lead and copper over the next 2 to 3 years. The requirement prior to that, we would have to do 50 houses, 50 tests, but that's 50 separate houses or residences where we would have to go ahead, test the lead and copper levels. Now that involves quite a bit of planning. You have to get in contact with 50 participants, set up a situation where we can go ahead and get those tests delivered to the house. Once we get the tests, we have 48 hours to respond. At least once we get the test results, we have 48 hours to respond and get the results back to the residents or the homeowners, and then also contact the EPA. That was what it was within the last couple of years, but now with this triggering event, that has actually quadrupled. Now we have to do 100 tests twice a year, and also have to do some additional water quality assurance sampling, which is another additional 100 tests. So rather than doing 50, now we have to essentially do 300 tests over the course of a year, and that will be for at least 2 or 3 years. That is on that level. We also have an additional lead and copper legislation that's coming down the pike through Ohio EPA that is going to involve a considerable amount of planning and logistics as far as anytime we run into a home that may have a lead service line. That involves us contacting the homeowner, letting them know that they have lead in their lines. Once that happens, we have to, again, set up a situation where we can get a water sample taken from the house. As soon as we get the results, we have 48 hours to get those results back to the homeowner. So again, this will happen quite a bit once we initiate this program. So it's going to involve a full-time person that is essentially going to have to be in contact with homeowners, coordinating the pickup and drop off of these water samples, and in addition, all of the record keeping that would be involved in making sure that we have a provable track record of the fact that we have followed through every one of these steps. And so it's quite a bit of work that we have coming down the pike here.
Thank you, Dan. Councilman Oliver, I see your hand. Did you have a question?
Thank you. Through the chair, 2 questions. The incident that required the EPA to do this, required us to do this additional testing, this is just a first question. Was that anything to do with the coating on the inside of the pipes or the erosion of the coating? I know that was something we dealt with some years ago, and having to recoat the pipes or something like that. And the second question is, Harry, I'm guessing this is going to cause an increase in workload if whatever we're finding has to be addressed by the city. So is your department already equipped within your budget to handle the increased workload, or will there be no increased workload? But if there is, are you equipped, or will you have to come to council for additional positions to be able to handle what this EPA person is going to, report back to the city that needs to be addressed, or is that already within your budget and already within your manpower?
Go ahead, Harry.
Okay, I'll take the second part of that. So, yeah, it's definitely increased workload. That's for sure. And it's something we can't get around. When it comes to EPA, it is what it is. So, just kind of give you a big picture. We're coming to council right now, proposing to create a compliance manager position. We said, and we had some internal discussion, we don't know if we're there yet. So we haven't pulled the trigger. We're not presenting it to council, that there might be a need for an assistant person. We're not sure. But we had talked about if there was to be an assistant person supporting this function, and that person that perhaps it would be more of a union position, you know. So there has been some discussion. At this point, you know, we don't know some of these additional regulations. This is new, so you know we have to get acclimated to the process. But it is in the back of our mind. So I can tell you, we definitely need this for right now. There may be a potential for one other person. Maybe. I can't commit to that, if you can understand that.
Thank you. Anybody
You're
can
welcome.
address the first question, or?
Yes,
Forget what it was. Oh, you got it, Dan?
Yeah, through the chair. The first part of that question, essentially, yes. Mahoning Valley Sanitary District was forced to make water treatment changes through the EPA, or per the EPA. Those water treatment changes did change the pH of the water, which slightly lowered it, made it a little bit more acidic than it was before, which did in fact strip a lot of the calcium lining that is in most of our water mains. Once that calcium lining was stripped away, that essentially leaves the water main in direct contact with the water. So when we run into dead-end streets where that water doesn't move as well, it's, you know, kind of sits there, doesn't circulate as well as the ones that are tied in. There can be discoloration in the water because that water essentially is in direct contact with the water main for a prolonged period of time, which is leaching some of the iron out. From a health perspective, there is no impact, but, you know, from the water quality as far as discoloration, it does have an impact. So Mahoning Valley Sanitary District went ahead and started increasing more chemicals that would essentially sequester that iron and stop it from leaching into the water, and that's called orthophosphate. They increase the amount of orthophosphate in the water to sequester that iron. And that did trigger the event for us where now we are forced to do more lead and copper testing, you know, and for good purpose. We definitely want to make sure that, you know, the water that we're serving our customers is safe. So that is the idea behind what the Ohio EPA wants, you know, when they increase the level of testing.
A quick follow-up through the chair.
Go ahead.
Thank you. So is the additional testing from the EPA that's required, is that in all related to trying to make sure those chemicals that were used to recoat the lining of the pipes, like chromium or whatever else was used, is the additional testing to make sure those chemicals are kind of out of the system, or are some of these chemicals going to also awaken, so to speak, you know, some of the lead that may be dormant in people's, you know, in their either the city's pipes or the housing pipes? Is that essentially what we're testing for?
Through the chair, I can answer that question. No.
Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, the impact here is it's a broader paintbrush than that. Whenever there is a treatment process change in the water, that triggers the event to do increased lead and copper testing. So the idea is any kind of treatment change will in fact trigger this event, which then all of the satellites, it's not just us, but anybody that is getting water like Niles, Girard, everybody is under the same umbrella there, where now they have to do more testing for lead and copper. As far as there being any concern, as far as there being additional lead or copper in the water, I would say that the chances of that are very low. If anything, the addition of the orthophosphate would actually decrease any chances of lead and copper being in the water. You know, the whole idea is now this orthophosphate will essentially coat the inside of the water mains pretty much like the calcium did before, and keep the discoloration level down. And again, as soon as there's a coating on that main, there's far less chance of there being any kind of lead or copper in the water.
Thank you. Thank you both, Dan and Harry. I appreciate it. I know we have good quality water here in Youngstown, and I appreciate your efforts of maintaining it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well,
Thank you, Councilman Oliver. Dan, Councilman Oliver mentioned the coating. That coating that we did use, that was food grade though, right? I mean, the pipes that are coated, it's completely safe. So that wouldn't require any kind of additional testing because it is safe, correct?
Through the chair, there are two different things going on here, I think, and I just want to make sure that we are on the same page as far as what we're talking about. So we did do a project which is called SIPs, which is they were target streets that were targeted, that were dead ends, that were suffering from discoloration. Essentially, the material is almost like a ceramic, where they, coated the inside of the water main with almost like a ceramic material that increases the strength of the water main and essentially stops the water from being in contact with the cast iron pipe that was in the ground. So that is one thing. And then I also mentioned this orthophosphate, which is a chemical that Mahoning Valley Sanitary District has introduced into the water, which is triggering this lead and copper water testing, increased testing. That is a chemical that essentially also binds with the inside of the water main and creates a coating as well, that essentially keeps the water from being in direct contact with our cast iron pipes. All of the older pipes in the ground are cast iron. We've moved over since to ductile iron, which has a coating already inside of it, so that those pipes aren't affected by the contact of the water. But the old cast iron pipes, they can still rust and oxidize. So whenever you have water in direct contact with cast iron, you're going to get some discoloration if it sits there for any real length of time. But no, the SIPs, those streets that we targeted over the last two projects, that is absolutely safe. That's been rigorously tested. There is no health concern regarding that.
Thank you. So some of those pipes are probably like some of our arteries, pretty coated.
Correct. Yeah.
And I think it's important for folks to have, all joking aside, an appreciation for our system. Our system was built for much more usage. I want to say in the late 70s, 80s, we were probably using 66 million gallons, and now we're at 22, 23 million gallons. So those dead end streets, those cul-de-sacs, stuff did not get flushed out like it would have when we were designed, because we just don't have the population, the usage that we did at one time. Is that correct?
Through the chair, that absolutely, especially on the east side, the population on the east side is dramatically reduced from decades ago. So there are remains that sit there, and the water just doesn't move as much as we would like it to. And when we run into situations like that, we try and flush hydrants to keep the water moving, so that everybody's getting fresh water. And we do monitor that. So if we see chlorine levels starting to dip, we'll start flushing hydrants to try and keep fresh water through the area. But it definitely it does add another layer of complexity to it, due to the fact that we're not moving as much water in certain areas as we used to.
Thank you, Dan. I see Councilwoman Turner's hand up. Samantha, go ahead.
Thank you. Through the chair, I just have a few questions. First, do we have like a pseudo compliance department in wastewater? You know about that? No?
Well, we're on water, but you're asking for wastewater. I'm
asking, do we already have one in the city? Or is this?
I don't know that we have anyone representing wastewater here to answer that.
There's no answer to that question, then I'm going to ask that question. Okay, so my next question is, so no compliance department, but we can logically deduce that with the age of our system and our maintenance procedures over the last 100 years, that this will evolve into something a little bit bigger than just having the manager at this point. Correct? Harry?
I'd say Dan or Harry. I mean, as additional EPA regulations come down the line, go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair, absolutely. The Ohio EPA regulations every year become more onerous. The U.S. EPA is also, in addition, adding more regulations, especially with lead and copper after the Flint, Michigan incident. So with that said, everybody is really coming down hard on this. And unfortunately for the city of Youngstown, and any older municipality is in the same boat, a lot of lead was used back, in the early 1900s. And so we do have a lot of lead in our system, and it's a thing that they're gonna start coming after us to replace that lead. And to be perfectly honest, it's going to cost millions and millions and millions of dollars to do that, and it's going to take some time. But it's coming down the pike, and it's inevitable.
Thank you. Then that actually, leads me to my next question. In compliance with the Ohio EPA and the US EPA, something that was a little alarming to me on the job description, and mind you, I just read it quickly on the screen, is the lack of education requirements or experience requirements for the management position of it. So will you look at other positions in other cities? That's why I asked, do we already have one in another department that we could look to? But will we look at other cities to see what their compliance managers, one, are being paid, and two, what their education requirements are? Because it doesn't seem like it's a job for someone that has experience that just has experience in water, or has worked their way through a department. It seems as though it would need some sizable education to ensure that the knowledge base is there as well as the experience.
Harry, do you want to take that, or do you want me to take that?
Yeah. Well, the first of all, the position, we're not completely sold on the position or the job description. Again, we've been going back and forth because we had actually had more time. You can see it says a two-year associate's degree, and I was the one that changed that because I believe Dan had a college degree in there, because I didn't want to eliminate somebody that perhaps maybe only had a two-year associate's degree and had a plethora of compliance experience. That's the most important thing, is being able to manage a process, paying attention to detail, and we also put some measures in there that particular person, upon getting a position, would have to get it if they don't have a Class 2 distribution license. As a additional characteristic that we wanted. And we did look at some other municipalities and what those positions entail, and crafting this current position, or the current job descriptions you're looking at. So we did go through that process, to get to this point. So, I'm hoping, that's why we're here. If there's anything that you want, or you could suggest, any suggestions, I'm open to them, that could, further fortify this position going forward. I'm open to it.
Thank you. And just one more follow-up. What's the salary range for this position in those other municipalities versus what we possibly will offer here?
You really want to know?
I really want to know.
If you look at compliance positions in other departments or other cities, we're looking at the 55 to 60 range. We're not, again, depending upon where you look, we're not close. we're just looking at what our current management structure is in terms of salaries and the market here to determine what would be, that number. Again, we've not settled on a specific number yet. More than likely, it'll be somewhere in the 50s up to the low 60s, and it'll be tiered similar to the other positions, management positions, where year one you get paid this amount, then in year, I think it's 2 or 3, so it graduates based on the time that you're here and experience that you have in the position. But upon us settling on that number, I'll let council know. Of course, communication is key, but I just wanted to assess council's appetite for moving in this direction. That's why I'm here.
Thank you. Anything else, Samantha?
No, I just want to ensure, in my suggestion here, I just want to ensure that the wage we're paying matches the education requirements. And also, I don't want us to come into a situation where I hear where it says, you have your class 2, you get your class 2 within 3 years, and they get their class 2 in 3 years, and then they're gone because they can find a better paying job, 30 miles, south of us or something like that. So I just want to ensure that we look at competitive wage, but also look for a competitive individual that we can pay competitively, that is willing to work and grow with us. So that's my biggest concern, when I see I don't want to bring anybody out of retirement, and I don't want to stress somebody else that's already working for us and doing a million things. I would like to see us bring in someone that is qualified and that we pay them, pay their worth. So I'll leave that to you as the expert as you do your search.
Thank you. As for the experience area, I see what you're saying with the associate being a minimum, because if you do have someone that's worked in the industry for 15 years in compliance, that experience should matter. Just for my private sector job, I work in air emissions. I work with compliance and testing. So I understand, I have an appreciation for the importance of having folks specifically dedicated to this, because as you talked about all these things, I remember sitting down with Gene Leeson to talk about copper and all those programs in the past, when, the issues that Councilman Oliver mentioned, and we did have the change in the water from Mvsd. So, I think it's necessary. I think it sounds like this committee is supportive of it, and would like you to see you move forward with this and get us some more details as you develop it, so we can get that in place to make sure we stay in compliance. Any other questions from the committee? I see Samantha's hand up. Go ahead, Samantha.
Yes, I also would like to see, like Mike said, I think we are in support of this because one, it's needed, but I would also like to see from Dan and Harry, if you can develop a flow of how this would progress, maybe year 1, year 3, year 5. If that's 1 person now, 2 people in 3 years, 3 people in 5 years, so that we can prepare to move forward, especially with the regulations at Ohio and the US going up, and we know that. So I like for us to work through being forward thinking and how we need to progress on an annual basis. So in January, I want to know that if we're going to hire a second person for this department, so that we get where we need to be ahead of time instead of reacting to the regulations.
Okay, thank you. Any other additional comments or questions regarding the new position within the water department for meeting EPA guidelines?
If I may, just to kind of comment on that last statement, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
Through the chair. And just, we have attempted to plan forward with this. It's not for a lack of trying that. The problem and why it's so fluid at this point is because the Ohio EPA has come down with a set of regulations regarding lead and copper, and they are very, very, very difficult to comply with the staff that we have. Unfortunately, the U.S. EPA has come down or is in the process of developing even more strict regulation than the Ohio EPA, but they have not released it yet, and the Ohio EPA hasn't had the opportunity to digest how they're going to implement the U.S. EPA policy. So we're kind of in a bind with the fact that we already know what we have to do to comply with the Ohio EPA lead and copper legislation. We are not yet aware of what the U.S. EPA has coming down the pike. The only thing that I've heard is that it is significantly worse or more difficult to comply with than the Ohio EPA, which, again, that's already quite a handful. So that's the reason why I think Harry is unable to, to tell you exactly how many people or, what we're going to need to do 1, 3, and 5 years down the line, because they still have not yet released that regulation update for us.
Thank you, Dan. And that's completely understandable, but I think we all I'm hearing everything that you're saying. We're all hearing what you're saying, that we're going to need to be prepared to move as these regulations change. And I'm to my understanding, you're saying that they're not loosening, they're getting stricter as time goes on. And with our current setup, we can't take all of them on. So in just knowing that, I am just a supporter of being prepared and having the right people on staff and moving through, even if it's just the job descriptions. We know we're going to need an assistant. I think earlier on someone said we'll probably need an assistant manager. So even pulling that job description down and preparing for that for maybe next summer is something that we can kind of hit the ground running. And that's when it needs to be done or before it needs to be done, because we know that it's coming. So I'm in complete support. Don't get me wrong. I just want us to be ahead of the curve because we know the curve is coming.
Thank you. Anything else on this topic? We can move. If not, we can move to the next item. Councilman Davis, did you have something?
Yes, through the chair. So if they can look into the crystal ball, is there a time frame that we can expect these new federal regulations, or it's just totally up in the air for us? I mean, because we can plan, we know it's going to be like 1 year or 3 years down the road.
Dan, can you answer that?
I can. Through the chair. Yep. I'm sorry. Are you done, Councilwoman?
Yes.
Yeah, I believe the U.S. EPA has actually released it to the state, and the state is trying at this point to rewrite their regulation. So I would anticipate that sometime next year they will release that, and then we'll be forced to comply with that. In the meantime, though, and this is twofold because there are a couple of things we're talking about, and one of which is the lead and copper testing, which we mentioned earlier. That is absolutely going to happen at the beginning of the year. We have to essentially quintuple our workload regarding just the lead and copper testing. Then there is the lead and copper program that we were referring to just now with the U.S. EPA, which will require a different set of requirements for the removal of lead services when we run across them, which will involve a lot of work. But I believe that should be released also sometime next year.
Thank you.
Thanks. It's my understanding in the industry of air, I mean, there's comment periods and there's implementation periods. So there's long lead times of when compliance starts. That's good to hear, though, that the state is looking to mirror or bring theirs in the same, so we're not duplicating or having different standards. So it's good to hear. Last call on anything to do with the new water department position. Okay, hearing none or seeing no hands, we will move on to the next item, which is the City of Canfield water contract. Harry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I apologize if I kind of was on my phone, except I got a text message from somebody that is apparently a follower of Dave Skolnick, and he put that I've introduced myself by saying that I'm glad you guys moved the meeting so that I can drink beer and enjoy myself on the golf course in Maryland. He put that on his Twitter account. I said, wow, no class. You know, so for the record, let them know, hey, I'm actually on vacation right now working. So you're gonna put that on Twitter. Make sure you put that I'm working on my vacation, which I do regularly. So, because I'm on call 24/7, and I got about 6 calls while I was on a golf course in Maryland. Yeah, I apologize for that. That kind of threw me off. But anyways, let's get back to business.
Well, it's good to have a little humor in what we do. We're all real people, so we can chuckle about that.
Not just that.
Skolnick will poke his tweet fun at us, but that's all right. Go ahead, Harry.
I mean, it's low class, man. It's just we're talking about important stuff, and you put that on Twitter. But hey, it is what it is. It's the truth too. So, anyways, so the Canfield, the best way to handle this is give some his historical context, and I got Ted here to assist me with this because he and I were involved in the discussions. So, essentially, we signed a new contract with Canfield back a couple of years ago. Excuse me. And at the time, I talked to the administration. I wanted to explore the possibility of deepening the relationship. If there was an avenue where we could somehow integrate our systems a little bit more beyond the bulk agreement that we have, based on the meter change out that we were doing. And I talked to them about, or wanted to at the time, but didn't get the opportunity. And then also, I was concerned about at the time, which I expressed to the powers that be at the time, about the rate structure. And I want to get into all the particulars as to why that rate structure was enacted, but essentially I didn't agree with it. And I don't have a problem saying that. This is our partner. They're our number one customer. You know, we should be in a position where we create win-win situations with our constituents, our customers. So, make a long story short, I approached Mayor Brown about the exploration of the contract and looking specifically at, is there a possibility for us to do more in working with Canfield, one, and then two, the current rate structure, have some discussions, open discussions, and start talking about it, and treat that dialogue, so on and so forth. So what brings us here today, myself, Ted, Wade, and he's on the call, Wade from the city of Canfield. We've had multiple meetings. First, we looked at, is there a possibility to integrate the systems a little bit more? We at least went through that process where we brought in our provider census. We met with them, did some studies, looked at the possibilities, and based on their administrative needs and ours, that particular part of it wouldn't work. Although they are upgrading their system using the same provider. They have a tower that, if something happens, with our system, we can go to them and say, hey, can you get our reads, and vice versa. They can do the same thing with us. So there are some redundancies in the systems that could, if something happened, benefit both communities in the future. So that's a good thing. So to make a long story short, we got into some territorial issues as well as some rate issues. And when I turn it over to Ted, you can look at the spreadsheet that we have. And I also want to put out there, I'm not looking for a complete approval from council at this point, because we're still really in the negotiating phase we have got to a point where it's, at least the rate structure, you know, if you're amenable to any kind of change, we've gotten to a point where we both agree. As far as the territory issues, we haven't gotten there. So upon getting, if we can move forward, all the pertinent information hammered out, you know, we can come back to the committee and say, here it is. But at least this main part of it, I want to introduce to the city council today. I've already had the discussions with the mayor and law department about this, and you know, they agree, they support it. That's why we're here having a conversation now. So before I turn it over to Ted, just a basic overview. We had a rate structure 20 years. It was pretty significant increase to the city of Canfield. And we talked about it, came up with, you know, a good win-win situation for both communities. You know, and in my conversations with Wade, I said, listen, I can't just forfeit these current rates without getting something in return. So to make a long story short, he in principle has agreed, the city, to add an additional 10 years to the contract, you know, which is huge. Our big concern is, which we should be concerned, the city as a whole, the legislative body, as well as the administrative executive, is that we got a viable competitor out there in Aqua, Ohio, which is okay. But the bottom line is we're in competition. They want territory, they want customers. We're in the water business. We want the exact same thing. And we don't want to put ourselves in a position where we're pushing our customers to even consider wanting to do business with Aqua, Ohio. See, that's my position. And, you know, I don't want to disclose conversations that I've had with Wade, but I know for a fact that Aqua, Ohio is out there talking to our customers, again, which we should expect. You know, they talk directly to us about acquiring our system, which I don't support at all. But again, that's something we also have to keep in mind in, you know, dealing with our customers and these contracts, and you know, making sure that, you know, we not only do we make money, but they're in a position where they can make money, create a win-win situation, and not overburden our constituents with you know, excessive water rates. So having said all that, I'm gonna turn it over to Ted. He has a specific spreadsheet where you can look at, okay, where we are, where they are, what we've talked about specifically, the proposed amendments to the contract, and the financial impact associated with those changes. You know, that information is detailed in there. And you know, when he brings it up, we can have a little bit more dialogue and discussion regarding those issues. So I'm gonna turn it over to Ted so that he can put that information up. And
thank you, Harry. I just want to remind folks too, and you know, Attorney Libyan's on here. If there are questions that may be, you know, pertaining to too deep of details in negotiation, just say that. So we're not talking about, we can't put all of our, you know, those negotiations on the table. So if we do get to anything like that, let's make sure we are being mindful of anything like that. And go ahead, you know, Ted.
Are you guys seeing my screen now or not? The spreadsheet?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so when we entered into this contract with Canfield, it was originally a 20-year contract. First 10 years, I'm going to just highlight this. This is the first 10 years, you can see right here. We were increasing the rate. The Canfield would be charged by 7.75% each year. So currently we're in year 4. And then after years 11 through 20, we would charge 3.50 per year. Okay, so it's a significant increase every year. Canfield's average usage is 22,800 cubic feet or CCF per month. So you could see in this column here what they pay per month. Back in 2018, they were paying $95,000 for that amount of water. Today, they're paying $120,000 for water. And it's going to keep increasing until year 20. So that same amount of water is going to be $255,000. So Harry began that discussion with Canfield, and they wanted to know, if there's anything we can do to try to reduce this at some point. So we started putting some scenarios together. First thing we did, we looked at some possible increases that are a little more palatable. I'm going to put them in orange here. So the first 5 years would be 7.75%. Then the next 5 would be a 2.5%. Then after that, it would be, we would then kick in if any increases happen from Mvsd, we would just pass on that increase as well, just like we do with our everyday customer. Then we started looking at another scenario where they would have a block rate. If they would exceed a certain dollar amount, they would get a little bit of a break on the water bill. So we created that as well. And then we also went to a third block rate where if they buy this much, they would pay X. If they would go into the next tier, they would pay a little less. And then if they would go over that third tier, it'd be more. It would be, and the reason why we did or looked at this scenario is because Canfield is, there's some housing developments that are going up and so forth. So they are buying more water. And as they buy more water, we all benefit. So you can see then in these columns here, what these rates are for them through these different scenarios. So right now, if they buy, say, 25,000 CCF, you'll see these rates changing here. And you'll notice on this column here, this is their original. This would really start kicking in year 6 here, where they would be paying 612 current charges. On the percentage break, it would be 582. On the 2 block, it would be 576, and on the 3 block, 563. So that's their effective rate. As we go there, this is what Canfield ends up paying for this as a per 1,000 gallons. They measure their water in 1,000 gallons, while we do it at 748 or 100 cubic feet. So this is just the equivalent here. But what's really telling is when we started looking at what their bills would happen, what would happen to their bills. So Canfield puts obviously they got to cover their costs for maintaining their system and so forth. I believe it's about 70% increase to their regular customer. Their bills, let me just put this back to just normal. Their bills here would, as in year 4, where we're at today, their normal everyday customer, which uses about 4,500 gallons of water, and that's a typical bill for us as well. Their customer pays $53.27. Our city customer pays $33.83, and our outside customer, Boardman, Canfield Township, Austintown, they pay $47.36. When you start looking at what their rates would go to their customer at year 20, that same amount of water is $117.57. So that's obviously a concern to Canfield, and quite frankly, it's a bit of a concern to us too, because as Harry mentioned, there is a competitor out there that could, maybe make a play for this as well. But that being said, this is what, as we talked to Wade about this, we were, wanted to obviously strengthen this relationship, wanted to see what we can do. But on the same, we want to also protect ourselves. So that's why, Harry wanted to have this meeting with council to see your palatability on what we can or, can and should do to bolster this relationship with them. Hate to lose a customer that's paying over, our single largest customer that's well over $2 million a year. And well, about $1.5 million a year in revenue coming to the city water authority.
Well, thank you, Ted. This is, very informative. I think this is very positive to see both municipalities talking and, working together on what is more equitable as times change. Us being able to work together is crucial. Again, both, government entities and both communities, I think finding something that's more favorable as times change, just because we had that extending terms seemed to make sense. I mean, one of the worst things to do with this or to navigate is uncertainty. So knowing that we could extend that out, I think that was one of the key points you said at the beginning. So I see Dan's hand had been up quite some time. I'm not sure if Dan intended to raise it or not. And then I see Samantha's hand as well. So Samantha, go ahead.
Yeah, I did not. I'm sorry.
Okay. I'll lower your hand, Dan, and go ahead, Samantha.
Thank you. I just want to, Harry, if you want to just say yay or nay, or Ted. So just to be sure, we are in a 20-year rate structure / contract with Canfield.
Correct.
That's correct.
And right now, and due to development and growth in Canfield, they would like us to reevaluate said rate structure and contract.
Well, I don't know if I want to say specifically because of that.
Changing market conditions, or
well, yeah. But there are some areas that that Wade presented to me. That there's some areas for potential development, growth. But again, we haven't agreed to change that particular aspect of the contract yet. We are considering it, but it's not on the table at this point. It's on the table, but we haven't worked through that aspect yet.
Okay. Yeah. And you feel, or the department feels, that it's in our best interest to entertain this conversation and look at all possible outcomes in order to create a win-win situation for Canfield and the city.
Yeah, through the chair, again, we're in a battle. There's no secret with Aqua. I like the competition. There's nothing wrong with that. They want to make money. Again, that's not a dirty word. We want to make money to be able to maintenance our system, as does the city of Canfield. But we don't want to do it to a point where, again, we're overburdening our customers. And trying to strike that perfect balance is delicate. And we were able to, again, have the discussion and come up with a more palatable number. And in my opinion, this is what we should be doing, with our customers, so that we maintain those relationships, and one party doesn't walk away feeling like they, have been bullied. Again, we shouldn't be doing business like that. That's just my philosophy. So that's how we got to this point. And again, I wanted to get there prior to this. I was unsuccessful.
Mm-hmm.
So,
thank you.
Did you have something else?
I did.
Samantha?
And they manage their own system completely. So we just provide the water, and anything else is taken care of on their end.
That is correct. Through the chair, that is correct. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And my last question, with the water, I guess, do they have compliance directors over there to ensure that everything is matching up, since we're supplying them with their water? Or does our compliance flow into there since we're supplying the water? Can you clear that up for me?
Well, they have their own workforce. We didn't look at the city of Canfield when we started our work to decide what direction we wanted to go in. They're a fraction of the size of us. They have 1,500 customers, accounts. We have 52,000. So to compare them would have been responsible. So I don't know if they have a compliance person, but are they responsible for having to do some of the similar work? Yes. Because they get the rates, the water from the same source. But again, they don't have nearly as many as customers we have. I may be wrong with the number 1,500, but I don't think it's
3,500, Harry.
35. I'm sorry, 3,500. You know, we
So,
have 52,000, but again, there's no comparison in terms of the customers.
Thank you.
Thank you. I was just trying to be clear that once they get the water, it's all, we just give you the water, and not, I want to say what you do with it when you get it is all on you, but yes. Okay.
Well, that's true, do share. We again, it's a perfect setup right now. You know, we sell them the water, and they pay us on a monthly basis for the amount of water that they use, and the relationship has been great, and I want to keep it that way.
Thank you. Moving on to Councilman Davis, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, through the chair. I have a couple of questions. Their water lines, they maintain their own water lines. Youngstown is not responsible for them?
Through the chair, that is correct.
Okay.
We do not touch, we sell it to them in bulk. It's metered. We send them a bill. They send us a check.
But if the water line has a fault, we're not the ones who go, we don't go there to Canfield to fix their lines.
To the chair, no, ma'am, Councilwoman, I'm sorry, Davis, we do not.
Okay. Now my other question, because what you're talking about is the surcharge. And you're concerned about Aqua Ohio as a competitor to us. What are their rates? What are they charging or offering them? Do you have any idea?
Well, to the chair, I'm always concerned about Aqua Ohio for obvious reasons. And I have looked at their rates. I don't have it in front of me, but our rates are better than Aqua's. But it varies in different communities as far as the rate. I don't know, Ted, do you have that number off the top of your head?
I don't have anything for Aqua. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, Councilman Davis?
Well, I just wanted to elaborate on that.
Oh, she looks froze. Maybe she's frozen.
Oh, she does look frozen. Well, I was going to say
really
that
still.
I know that, yeah, well.
Well, keep going. She could, if you want to answer the second
Yeah, I was
part.
going to say that you know, Aqua has a reputation of undercutting rates. You know, so it wouldn't be surprised me if they wouldn't talk to Canfield with anybody, and you know, they come in with a teaser rate and then elevate it, you know, years into the future. But we don't want to be in a position to put ourselves, you know, in a position where they're even having reasonable discussions with Aqua Ohio. Again, we want to create win-win situations with our current partners so that, you know, they're happy, we're happy, and, you know, our constituents are somewhat happy. Some folks don't like paying a water bill, you know how that is, but the water is good, it's cheap. You know, we stay on top of regulations, requirements here, you know, so, you know, we want to continue to those relationships. It's important.
Okay. Thank you, Harry.
Yes, you're welcome.
Follow up.
Go ahead, Anita.
Yeah, so as we're asking our customers, our residents here of Youngstown, and we have an average income of $24,000, and I'm sure Canfield's income levels are considerably more, but we're having our residents pay more each year on a much lower rate. So are we in effect going to be passing on costs to our residents in order to achieve this?
To the chair,
Harry.
to the chair, no. This agreement doesn't have any impact on our customers. You know, we pay customers outside the city pay 40% more than customers inside the city, and with the city of Canfield, I think that percentage is even slightly higher. But in terms of impact to the city of Youngstown residents financially, there's none. The only time that there would be an impact to our customers if, you know, Mvsd was to pass on a rate increase to us, or there was some significant capital improvements that we had to make that we didn't have the money to do. At this particular point in time, we're not in that position. Even with the financial debacle we went through a couple of years that depleted our reserves, we've been able to manage the department through some efficiencies, some revenue savings that we've been able to realize, and slowing some projects down. So we've been able to maintain without enacting any kind of rate increase. What's good, some money did come back to the department that will help. And then also, I don't know what's going to happen with those monies from the federal government, but of course I lobbied for about $8 million for the water department for various projects, which will again help. So, my goal is to defer any kind of rate increases to any customer as long as we can, and try to really drive down our expenses and drive up revenues, so that we're meeting all of our obligations and capital needs. That's something that's important to me. And through working with our union, our management team, Ted and Dan, we've been able to do that pretty successfully over the past several years, and really achieved some. And we really got tried. I don't want to get into a speech, but
Stay on track.
The pandemic, it taught us a heck of a lot. So we got pretty good at some things during that period. But that's a long way to answer your question, but I think it answers your question.
Yeah, we got a safety committee meeting at 3 if we want to get through this one.
Thank you. I have a meeting at 1 o'clock.
Shut up.
Thank you, Anita. Did that answer your questions?
I'll catch up with them for further questions privately. Thank you. And through the chair, I have to exit. I have another meeting to get to, another Zoom meeting.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Councilman Davis. Councilman Oliver's impatiently there with his hand up. Go ahead, Julius.
Thank you. Through the chair. Harry, we put this current rate structure in place during this or just the previous administration under this city council, correct?
Under the previous administration, correct. And, some of it, I don't think there were 2 members that weren't on there. That's
right,
correct.
right. So, so I remember having conversations with in some of the meetings with the past finance director, and at the time, they seemed to have been pretty excited about the negotiation of the current rate structure and being able to get that contract in place. It didn't seem like it was anything contentious at the time, and I'm pretty sure it went through city council unanimously. So here's my thing. I don't know your job at all. So forgive me if I say something crazy right now. But
okay. I'm gonna be brutally honest with you. Go ahead.
All right. So I don't know any customers that I've spoken to in the suburbs anywhere that's happy with Aqua Ohio. Not with their service or with the taste of their water or quality of their water. That's one. Number two, I get constituents that literally call me and say we should sell our water. That's how good it is. The pH balance, the taste of it is better than some bottled water. So I'm thinking our water is worth, the price people are paying for it. Number two, I just don't understand really what happened and how even Aqua could compete with us if we're in a 20-year contract. It's like, is Canfield or any other
exclusive?
Yeah, so that's the information I need. They can break this contract with us at any time and go with someone else, and Aqua already has the infrastructure to be able to supply. What are we really worried about when it comes to competition if the city of Canfield already agreed for 20 years to pay what they're paying? You know what I mean? Like, what is this something that's initiated by them? Okay, hey, it's a new administration. Maybe we can go back and renegotiate. There's some new council members, or is this something that we negotiate or we're initiating in order to, be friendly or neighborly? Because I don't really see Canfield taking food out of their citizens' mouth essentially to be able to help Youngstown out. unless in some way that's happening. So I'm just concerned. I'm not saying that it is bad. I'm just saying, like, how does this benefit the city of Youngstown and what we can provide to be able to lower the rate if the rate was agreed upon for 20 years?
Go ahead, Harry. I would just say my first observation would be we're getting 10 more years out of it. So we have stability for we take a 20 to a 30. And but go ahead, Harry.
Okay. Well, that was one bullet point. You don't want to be in a position where you win the battle and lose the war. So I'm always looking at it from that perspective. When this whole thing happened, how many years ago, I was very vocal, and you guys have friends that from previous administrations, and they'll tell you that I was vocal to the administration about, and I used these exact words. I said, "Why are we doing this to our best customer?" And then I asked the question, "Where did this rate? Why do you have this rate structure in place? What is it for?" And the answer that was given to me, well, because that puts more money in the system. Now, I know what that meant. Again, I didn't want to go into that. I just said, hey, I was unsuccessful. I had the conversation. I talked directly to my bosses at the time. It wasn't for me to, go behind their backs and try to lobby council, because I don't do business that way. Now, if you asked me a question during the passing of the legislation, whether I agreed with it or not, I would have been very honest and said, no, I don't. Matter of fact, I remember having a conversation with my wife saying, hey, if I get asked a question, I'm gonna have to tell the truth and I may get fired. It didn't happen. But again, this is not impacting one of our customers. Again, this is our best customer. And we don't want to be in a position where they even start to entertain looking at other customers. And Aqua built a brand new water tank right there on 224, directly across from Canfield's tank. All they need to do is get permission to cross over Route 11 to get water to Canfield. Again, that may or may not happen. I want to put us in the best position, and also administrations change. So the people that were there left, and then new people came in and said, what the heck is this? When I looked at the contract specifically, so I know there was some concern. Again, and we don't want to put ourselves in a position where, we have unsatisfied customers. You want to have a two-way street, two-way communication. And there wasn't a whole lot of that when that happened. And again, there's more I can say with regards, because I have even some more historical information regarding this. I don't want to get into that. You want to talk offline, I'll tell you specifically what happened 15, 16 years ago. But again, I don't want to get into that kind of stuff, because I just don't like in the public forum having those types of discussions. But I hope that at least answered your question, Councilman Oliver. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank
All
you. I appreciate that. One, just a follow up.
Sure.
And I don't know how true this is as far as and I understand, what you're saying completely. I get it. So reviewing the rates is, it makes sense. So my question is Youngstown prepared for, and I don't know if it's a rumor or what, but there's supposedly some type of ABC plan in order for suburbs basically to get off Youngstown water. Now, we're talking about decreasing rates. Is Youngstown prepared if this ABC plan is real? Are we going to be able to survive off just Youngstown residents if this is a real thing to get off our water?
Well, the ABC district is real, but I think they're using that to address stormwater issues more specifically. I think the city, the Canfield Township, is looking at expanding, and we've been discussing. There's been some discussions with them regarding them getting some water. Again, that's Canfield Township specifically. Logistically, some of those other communities, the possibility of them getting water from another source is really difficult. And then, you know, those water lines, and that was there was an opinion on that several years back about who owns the lines, and it was determined that we do. You know, so them going somewhere else would be very difficult. You know, especially if they, you know, they're looking at millions of dollars of buying us out, trying to go in another direction. Those communities I'm not concerned about, because again, that's a really difficult proposition for them to go other places. But again, the ABC Water District, I know about them. We've had some discussions with them, specifically regarding Boardman. They were talking about, you know, some issues regarding a storm charge on the bill. It never materialized at this point. And then there are some minor discussions with Canfield Township. Again, and I don't have anything concrete to tell you other than there's been some discussions and some requests that were turned down initially. So other than that, I'm not concerned, Councilman Oliver, about ABC Water District at this particular point in time.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. We appreciate your work. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Julius. Thank you, Harry. I see Wade has his hand up. Wade, go ahead.
Well, thank you, Chairman. And I don't know if y'all can see me. I just turned my camera on. So one, I'd just like to say thank you, commend Harry and Ted through this process. So, and kind of give you a little bit of historical perspective, Council Member Oliver. So the past administration for the city of Canfield, obviously there was a changeover from 2017 to 2018. The focus of the past administration of Canfield was on securing water for the long term. I believe they may have been short-sighted in that focus to the detriment of looking long-term of the impact that this contract would have on our citizens. And so there's probably a reason why the previous administration for Youngstown was excited about this contract. I think Ted kind of showed in his spreadsheet what that means in year 20 for Canfield residents. And Harry and Ted have been phenomenal through this process, sort of bringing, you know, to light some of those concerns that they had, again, and what that means for Canfield. We don't want to have to be put in the position where we're looking for other partnerships outside of historically the partnership that we've had with the city of Youngstown. Again, I think this was a renewal of an agreement that was previously a 20-year agreement that was in place. So in starting to talk about those sort of things, the opportunities for growth of the Canfield system, obviously the rate that we have to charge would be a significant impact on some of the development opportunities. People look at water. What's it going to cost me if I build in Canfield? And if that's more expensive than building in the township, specifically in Canfield or somewhere else, that hurts the city. Again, that stops our ability to buy more water with that further development, which again, I think as Harry alluded to, that's the win-win situation that we're looking for in this type of partnership. The clarification, and Harry alluded to it, is ABC Water and Stormwater District has nothing to do with the city of Canfield. So ABC Stormwater and Water District is specific to Austintown, Boardman, and Canfield townships. Again, they've got some workings with stormwater currently, but there has been indications of potentially becoming a water district through potentially partnership with either the city of Youngstown as the water provider or Aqua Ohio for the water provider. Again, the city of Canfield, we own and operate all of our water infrastructure. As Harry said, we buy water from the city of Youngstown. And then it kind of stops there. We're responsible for everything else. Much like the stormwater, we charge our own stormwater fees on our customers. We maintain and operate all of our stormwater infrastructure. So ABC is sort of outside any city of Canfield scope. But again, in looking to the future of, that partnership between Canfield City and City of Youngstown, there's a number of those outside entities and influences that are looking to obviously benefit themselves and what they plan to have in the future. And I think, in conversations that we've had, it benefits both municipalities, Youngstown and Canfield, to really solidify and work the partnership for the long-term benefit of, our citizens, your citizens, and really the region. I think we've got the opportunities in Canfield that are going to provide some growth that, again, through the water will provide opportunities for the city of Youngstown. So again, that's, I think that's been a lot of confusion over the history of sort of what's going on with some of the players in the game, so to speak. And there is that confusion of this, the C in ABC, it only relates to Canfield tenant. And again, I think, you start looking from my standpoint of, it's really hard to price Canfield residents out of being able to afford their water. But given the current structure of this contract, that happens pretty quickly before you even get to year 20. Right now, we're right in the comparison between, what Aqua people are paying, what direct customers of Youngstown are paying, and what my residents are paying. We're right in that same wheelhouse. But 3, 4, 5 years from now, I'm way over and above any other competitor of if somebody in my city moved out of my city because water is too expensive, again, sort of has that indirect effect on the city of Youngstown. I'm assuming they may pick those up elsewhere, but they could potentially go to Aqua. So that's really where we're at is just getting that equitable agreement in place that benefits, again, doesn't take money away from the city of Youngstown in the long term or short term, but also doesn't force the city of Canfield into a situation where we have to entertain other options in trying to bring that water cost down for our citizens.
Thank you, Wade. Appreciate it.
Wade, if you do have your camera on, you might have it covered. It does show that you're on, but we don't see you. Again, thanks for that explanation. I think it's, again, just to reiterate, working together with another partner, and Canfield does have some growth, and being able to grow our, increase the usage, as Ted showed on that spreadsheet, those blocks of usage are, potential for increased revenue and at a more favorable rate. So extending this out for 10 years, 10 years of more certainty, I think is great. I mean, that brings to mind, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Being together with Canfield and doing this sets a great example and shows that our communities can work together. So that's my 2 cents there. I'm not sure if there's any other questions from Councilman Oliver or Councilman Turner. I think those were great questions and giving us good perspective. Does anyone else have anything else on this topic? I guess you'll be coming to us, Harry, as you and Wade continue to develop more. Probably have to do some things that are, a little more private, obviously, for tweaking the contracts or changes. But if we need to have a follow-up meeting to go over any additional things before we get it to a place for council, I think we could entertain that as well.
That's exactly what I was going to suggest, Council Chairman. So
okay,
once we get one more concrete, I'd like to come back and say, hey, here's what we have before we move on to council, so that everybody's on the same page.
Great. Again, this is exciting to me just because our communities are working together. And as one goes, the other goes. And if we can provide them with longer term stability with more favorable rates, we all know it's easier to maintain a customer than it is to get a new one. So whatever we need to do for that. If there's, Wade, did you have any more questions? If not, we can move on to the next topic or anything.
No, and I apologize. I don't know what's going on with my webcam. It may just not be connecting. So in the future, whether it's, virtual or I'll just make sure we get that troubleshooted. So, but I appreciate
Okay.
y'all's time. Again, appreciate the consideration. I mean, thus far from our conversations with Harry and Ted have been more than amicable, I think, which again, I can't reiterate your statements enough to where it's a good start. Again, I came on board in 2018 and looking for those long-term partnerships for the area. I think Youngstown is a partner that we want to maintain a relationship with and further that relationship, whether that's with water or other aspects of, development within both cities or the region. So I appreciate y'all very much.
Great. Thank you. That would bring us to item 3, which is miscellaneous, the Mvsd appointment. We did get notice from Mvsd that the board term for our appointment, Bernard Richburg, ends June 24th, which I guess is today. Ironically, we did have a meeting, coincidentally, rather. As you may recall, last time he was reappointed in August 2018. His term ended in June 24, 2021. We extended his bond until he was actually reappointed. We can do the same. If he's not reappointed, that could be transferred to the next appointee. We'll need an appointment by the August 2021. So we need to that was just reminding us to do that. We may want another meeting to discuss, or if the committee members are fine with that, or if there's any further discussion, let me know what if you're thinking of anything now, or if we need to have a follow-up to discuss that.
Chairperson, Councilman Ray, we received a letter from Ms. Tracy Oates and did everybody receive this or just me? Everybody.
I believe so.
Okay.
We did.
And I am I'm great with her experience and her willingness to sit to take on this position, to take on this vacancy. I'm not sure how everyone else feels.
Okay. And we may need to just ask if there's anyone, any other interested or any other recommendations from this body as well. But we need, anyhow, we probably maybe schedule something to discuss that, because we need to get this taken care of. So.
Yeah, through the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be beneficial to schedule another meeting to discuss the topic.
Okay. I'll work with our clerk to do so. And I think we already made the motion to move the ordinance 21-68 ahead. We can work together to schedule another meeting. We'll do that rather timely as a time-sensitive issue. And I believe we'll probably be back in person next month, so it'll be an in-person meeting. At this point, I see no further things that need our attention. I'll ask the clerk, is there any other matters I'm overlooking?
Hi, through the chair, Mike. Valencia had to leave for another appointment, so I am not aware of anything additional, but I think you guys have covered everything on the agenda today.
Okay, thank you. Again, I do want to thank everyone on this, and I want to thank the work of the administration on these items, forward thinking on some of them. And, again, just to reiterate, anything we can do to strengthen our regional relationship with other municipalities and work together. A rising tide lifts all ships, and we can all grow together or maintain. At this point, we're at item number 5, adjournment. I would take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we end the Public Utilities Committee meeting on 6/24 at 12:49.
Second.
All right, we are officially adjourned.